Om Sat Gurubhyo Namaha. I am Aishwarya Harish, the Cultural Coordinator for Nrityodaya, the Academy of Performing Arts, Mumbai. We are very happy to have all of you gathered here today for the Young Researchers Forum, an initiative organized by Nrityodaya Mumbai and the Center for Excellence, Art and Culture, Shasun Jain College for Women, Chennai. The last 7 sessions, we've had a variety of topics being covered from sculpture, architecture, painting, dance, music, literature, puppetry. And we are here again to talk today on Hindustani music and the evolution of certain aspects of it. We begin today's session on an auspicious note with a prayer song being rendered by Srimati Jyoti Balaji.
गुरु माता गुरु पिता गुरु माता गुरु पिता गुरु आमचे कुलदेवता गुरु आमचे कुलदेवता गुरु माता गुरु पिता थोर पडता साकडे तोर पडता साकडे गुरु रक्षी मागे पुढे गुरु रक्षी मागे पुढे गुरु माता गुरु पिता काया वाचा आणि मना काया वाचा आणि मना गुरुचरणी अर्पण गुरुचरणी अर्पण गुरु माता गुरु पिता एका जनार्दनी शरणा एका जनार्दनी शरणा गुरु एक जनार्दन गुरु एक जनार्दन गुरु माता गुरु पिता गुरु आमची कुलदेवता गुरु माता गुरु पिता
Thank you so much for that soulful rendering. I now invite Dr. Jayashree Rajagopalan, Director, Nrityodaya, the Academy of Performing Arts, Mumbai, to present the welcome address.
Om Sadgurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Sai Ram. A hearty welcome to all of you who have joined us in this Young Researchers Forum, initiated and conducted by our institution, Nrityodaya, the Academy of Performing Arts, in association with the Center of Excellence, Art and Culture, Shasun College for Women, Chennai. We were very fortunate to have had our Guru, Padma Bhushan, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, inaugurate this entire series very auspiciously, mapping out an entire pattern for young researchers to show the importance of research, the need for research, and the methodology for research. We are extremely grateful to her, and also to Shri Shekhar Sen, who joined us in the inaugural session. This forum has been created for those young scholars who are very passionate about Indology and want to delve deep into our heritage and showcase it to the world at large. We've been very, very happy to have very good response, and many young scholars have registered. So we will be seeing, as Aishwarya just said, we have had a variety of subjects and we will be seeing many more like this. Today's young scholar is Nilesh Shrikant Khalikar, and he would be dealing with the medieval text Sangeeta Ratnakara and particularly the Swara Adhyaya. His topic is terminological change from Sangeeta Ratnakara to Khayal music. A very interesting topic, and its application means a lot to the young performers today to authenticate their work to a text which is very important for the Marga and the Deshi technique. And our institution being in Maharashtra, I must say that we are all very proud to realize that this Sangeeta Ratnakara was penned in Devagiri, which is part of Maharashtra today, part of Aurangabad district. And we are looking forward to this paper. A very warm welcome to you, Nilesh. Yes, and we are extremely grateful to our expert, Dr. Shruti Jauhari, who has been part of so many national and international seminars. She is an excellent performing artist, a teacher, a guide, and an author. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us to encourage these youngsters. I'm sure Nilesh is going to have a lot of input from you and also your blessings. Thank you so much for being with us. I would now request Dr. Rajshri Vasudevan, head of the Center for Excellence in Art and Culture, Shankarlal Sundarbai Shashun Jain College for Women in Chennai. Over to Dr. Rajshri.
Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Sai Ram. With salutations to our Guru, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, Padma Bhushan awardee. I'm very happy to introduce our two resource persons today. It is said that after silence, the closest that comes to human speech is music. And we have among us one very great scholar, a researcher, a musician, a performing artist, wearing many hats, and that is Dr. Shruti Jauhari. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce her numerous achievements and accomplishments to all of you. Dr. Shruti Jauhari is extensively trained and professionally qualified musician in Hindustani classical and light music with a voice ranging across 3.5 octaves. Performing artist, author, historian, and teacher. In academics, though she graduated and has a postgraduate degree in zoology, she also has equal academic qualifications in music, B Music, M Music from Indira Kala Sangeet Vishwavidyalaya, Khairagar, Madhya Pradesh, and has done specialized voice culture training under the guidance of none other than Padma Vibhushan, Dr. K.J. Yesudas. She has a PhD in music from RD University, Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh. Her awards and achievements are many: the Cathedral Excellence Award and Award for Vocational Excellence for exceptional work in the field of music education. Since 1988, she's an A-graded artist at All India Radio. She has performed live on TV performances in Doordarshan in Bhopal and Lucknow. Her experiences include a visiting faculty at Hindustani Classical Music at Madras University 2003 to 2006. Until July 2016, she was a faculty head of Hindustani Classical Music at KM Music Conservatory, Chennai, an institute promoted by Dr. A.R. Rahman in affiliation with Middlesex University, London. She is the external member, UG Board of Studies for Music and Arts in Wales University, Vistas, Chennai, effective from July 2016. And she's produced video clips in 2016 on elements of Hindustani classical music available on the YouTube channel titled Shruti Samvad. Her performances include the Governor House, Tamil Nadu, University of Madras Centenary Celebration graced by the Prime Minister, Epicenter New Delhi, Bharat Bhavan Bhopal, and in all major cities of India. In Celtic Festival Glasgow, Scotland, Singapore, London, and Leicester. Her publications include Elements of Hindustani Classical Music, published by DK Print World in 2011 in English. This is also available in the YouTube channel Shruti Samvad. The book titled Ragamalika, published in March 2016 by Sangeet Karyalaya, Publishers of Music Literature, Hathras. She has presented papers at international conferences and seminars, including the Asian Cultural Museum, ACM Singapore, Goldsmiths, University of London, UK, Indiranagar Sangeeta Sabha, Bengaluru, Music Academy, Hayagriva Study Circle, Stella Maris College, Chennai, and L&D, Chennai. So it gives us great pleasure in welcoming Dr. Shruti Johari as the expert for this session. We also have among us a young researcher, Sri Nilesh Khallikar, who is a Hindustani musician and academician. He has a BA Music Vocal and MA Music Vocal, University of Pune, 2010 and 2012, a B.Ed in 2013. He has passed the National Eligibility Test that in 2014, Sangeet Alankar Akhil Bharatiya Gandharva Mahavidyalaya in 2018. His experiences include the HOD of Music, New Arts, Commerce and Science College, Ahmednagar, Maharashtra. He has worked as visiting faculty, University of Pune and SNDT University, Pune, assistant professor at SNDT Arts and Commerce College, Pune for 5 years, and Guru Assistant for Bharat Ratna PT, Bhimsen Joshi Chair, University of Pune, 2012. His publications include co-editor for the Punyaswar Agra Gharana and Punyaswar Kirana Gharana. His achievements are: he is the winner of the CCRT Scholarship, Government of India, New Delhi, the Gayanacharya Bhaskar Bua Bakhale Award, University of Pune, late Datta Marulkar Gold Medal, University of Pune, Joglekar Trust Award, Yogini Joglekar Trust, Pune. He has given concerts at Sri Sai Samadhi Centenary Year Festival, Shirdi, Rangaswar Listeners Corner, Mumbai, Gana Maitra Swarahum Alapini in Pune, Guru Purnima Fonda in Goa, Baba Bhagavandas Smriti Samaro Jaipur, Kalapini Pandharpur, Shrutinad Latur, Sri Gajanan Mandir Samsthan Dhule. Welcome to Sri Nilesh, and I request you to kindly do your presentation, which will be followed by the expert comments by Dr. Shruti Johari, after which we will be taking the questions which will be posted on Facebook Live. So we welcome questions, which we request you to be very brief so that we can take as many questions as possible in the interaction session. Thank you so much, and over to Sri Nilesh.
Am I audible now? Namaste. My humble pranams to Dr. Shruti ji, Honorable Rajeshri ji, and Honorable Jayashree ji also. And I'm thankful to Nrutyodaya, Mumbai, and Center of Excellence Art and Culture, Sashun Jain College for Women, Chennai, for giving me this opportunity. According to me, this is not to express or not to put something found by myself, just to check my thought process from all such legends who are going to examine my research, a little research on the topic related with Sangeet Ratnakara. Now I will go with my PPT. I will start my presentation with the blessings from all of you. My topic is terminological change from Sangeet Ratnakara to Khayal music. The terms that I have chosen to explain today are Graha, second is Ansha, Grama, Murchana, Kurtan, concluding with Swara Prastar. First of all, about Sangeet Ratnakara and Sharangdev, I want to put something about this interesting musicologist from 13th century. Sharangdeva and his text always had attracted the musicians, researchers towards his findings, and he always had attracted all of them to think again and again, to come again and again to his text and to correct their own findings. According to me, Sangeet Ratnakara by Nishank Sharangdev, Sharangdev always had used the word Nishank as his nickname, as Biruda, which means one who doesn't have any doubt. And he absolutely had proven it with every word that he had used to explain his findings and concepts. As he was Sankhya Darshan, he had explained his findings using fundamental and mathematical methods. For example, about Kurtan, he explained there are only 5040 basic Kurtans possible, and elsewhere just their combinations. And till today, this is the unchallenged finding that Sharangdeva had kept in front of us, and still we are going through it, we are practicing it again and again. Same for Murchanas and Shuddhatans. In practice, as per time, the terminology has changed, but its relevance and importance is still unchallenged. Sharangdeva was the 13th century Indian musicologist who authored Sangeet Ratnakara, the classical Sanskrit text on music. It is considered to be the authoritative treatise in Indian classical music by both Hindustani music and Carnatic music traditions. He was court musician of King Singan II from 13th century of Yadav dynasty, whose capital was Devgiri, Maharashtra, as explained by Jayashree ji. According to me, this is the greatness, or this is the importance of Ratnakara, that both the mainstreams of Indian classical music, that is North Indian and South Indian, are equally had the faith in Sangeet Ratnakara, because this is the only text we find which talk about both the before the जिसे कहें पार्टीशन से पहले, इन दोनों संगीत विधाओं के पार्टीशन से पहले का ये टेक्स्ट है. इस वजह से both the styles equally had their faith in this Sangeet Ratnakara. Sangeet Ratnakara, text by Sharangdeva in 13th century, both Hindustani and Carnatic traditions of Indian classical music regard it as a definitive text. The text is divided in 7 chapters. The first 6 are Swargata Adhyaya, Raga Vivekadhyaya, Prakiranadhyaya, Prabandhadhyaya, Taladhyaya and Vadyadhyaya, deal with the various aspects of music and instruments, while the last chapter is Nrutyadhyaya, deals with dance. I know many of the listeners of this page are interested in this last chapter, which is Nrutyadhyaya, but my whole presentation is about the first 6. very interesting text. Uh,
Nileshri, it has become muted.
is it?
Mr.
Is it
Nilesh?
right?
Yeah,
Yes,
Am I
it's
audible?
better.
yeah,
Sorry,
now it's
sorry
better.
for the. Yes. Khayal. Khayal or Khyal is the modern genre of classical singing in Indian subcontinent. Its popular meaning is imagination, but according to many scholars, they they are finding that a Kheli Prabandha from Sangeet Ratnakara relates with the characteristics of what Khayal is today. But still, the popular meaning of Khayal is imagination, which inherit the characteristic of Khayal. Uh, Khayal is an unique format which inherit the characteristics and impact of all those beautiful genres popular at that time also, and still they are popular. Khayal had this is a different topic which can be discussed again any day. That Khayal had the impression and impact of Dhrupad also, Tappa, Qawwali, Haveli Sangeet, folk music such as Thumri and Dadra at that time. Khayal had inherited all the beautiful characteristics and molded them according to its personality, and the structure or the format of Khayal what today is the impact of all this. Sadarang and Adarang from 17th century are supposed to be the founders of of this Khayal Gaiki. Now we are coming towards the terms. The first term which I have chosen to discuss today is just a, we can say, as a uh, as an example. This is a group of terms actually: graha, ansha, nyasa, sanyasa, vinyasa, and so on. But I have picked just graha here because the term starts with a particular shloka which explains the definition of graha also, and also indicate a different angle of the thinking method, or we can say methodology of Sharang to see toward these terms. I will later explain how this term is quite misinterpreted in modern times. First of all, we will go through this term. What is the definition? Definition is Gita Dinihitam Statra Swaro Graha Itirita Sargatadhyaya Prakarana 7 Shlok 31st. Meaning is the start note of composition is called as Graha. I will repeat it again. The start note of composition. Again, I will emphasize on this word composition. The written here it is in the definition also Gita, Gita Dinhitam, the start note of the composition. And its relevance at that time is, at that time, as there was no fixed scale, as C, C sharp, D and D sharp, the starting note of the composition is the only key to start the composition in correct manner. If the artist lose to catch it, means the first note, the whole presentation was going to be a mess. And here we also have to note that in today's music of North India, we see the isolated performances. That means a single artist perform a particular raga or a particular composition what he wants to perform. जिसे कहें ज्यादा से ज्यादा दो लोग जुगलबंदी, या there is a format of jugalbandi, two people sing a composition. But as we look further back, there was the tradition of group singing, and most of the prabandhas were sung by the groups, sung by the kutapa and the groups. Okay, so the starting note or the graha had a great value. Graha had a great importance at the time of prabandha music, what it was, and as the time passed on in khayal context, what happened in khayal music, the starting note of the composition is varies many times. Today's our expert is also a khayal musician. She can also explain it very well. That first of all, nowadays we compare this concept graha with the terminology of raga as a vadi. Okay, we compare graha with vadi, but vadi is related with raga, not related with the composition. And Sarangdeva particularly talking this concept about Gita. And in today's context, what Gita is Khayal's bandish, that is Bada Khayal or Chota Khayal. Okay, that what I want to put is ki we should have to compare this concept graha in context with the bandish of the khayal, not with actual the concept related with the raga. Because if so, Sharangdeva also used to mention it with the jatis or ragas or the tunes or alaptis. He never had put in that manner. He put it particularly with the composition. So if we compared it with the bandish, then what happens in khayal music, the starting note of the composition varies many times. It seems not fixed. The composition seems not fixed. So what about the what about the starting note? Many artists put the composition according to their own way, according to their own learnings, and that's why the composition is free flowing in itself. So there is no meaning of starting point of the composition according to khayal music. This is a very beautiful thought. And then what is the place of graha? The graha place is taken by the starting note of the scale, that is sa. If we lose the sa of the scale, then we can't get to know what the composition is going on, in which raga, what its context, what is there. So the graha means not जिसे कहें ना बदलने वाला सुर या पक्का सुर, कंपोजिशन का पक्का सुर या ग्रह जिसे कहें जो पकड़ के रखता है पूरे कंपोजिशन को, is now a sa of the scale. So the place of graha should be compared with the sa of the composition. Okay, so graha should be tallied in context with khayal and not with the raga, as equal with all the related terms, graha, ansha, nyasa, and so on. Now we will move to the next concept. Next concept is ansha. Definition is prayoge bahulasa syadvadvansho yogyatavashat bahulatvam prayogeshu vyapakam to ansha lakshanam. Swargatadhyay Prakaran 7 Shlok 34. Meaning a swara which is used highest times and promotes the creation of bhava, that is mood, in Gita is called as ansha. So again I will repeat it. A swara which is used highest times and promotes the creation of bhava in Gita is called as ansha swara. What relevance of it? A particular note which express the Gita bhava in real manner and therefore used in the composition lots of times. Then the relative swara has a particular importance as it is called as ansha. Okay, what change happened in khayal music in today's context? We should have to accept that now we are reliable on the fixed scale such as A sharp etc, and the musical activities seems very less to shift the sa once started. Sorry. In khayal music, the composer plays such a note. Composer means the Vagya Karya. In khayal music, the composer plays such a note as the sama note in Mukhda. once again I will repeat, the khayal, in khayal music, the composer plays such a note as the summer note of mukhda, as the rendition again and again concludes with the summer note, because the avartana again concludes with the mukhda, and the mukhda finally comes on the samaswar. Okay, the swar placed at the sama. Okay, again concludes with the sama note. The particular swara enhance the beauty of the composition. As we can see, if the Vagyakara, old Vagyakara's composition, if we see, if we learnt it, then if there is a Bhimpalas, most of the Vagyakara beautifully placed some on Madhyam, because the Madhyam enhance the beauty of the compositions from Bhimpalas. Okay, if the Vagyakara has to compose in Yaman, they had many time kept the sama on Gandhar, as Gandhar enhances the beauty of Yaman. And if they are going with Puriya Kalyan, many Vagyakaras had put the sum on Tivra Madhyam, and the particular note enhanced the beauty not only of the raga but also of the composition. Okay, so here also we should not compare this ansha term with the terminology in raga manner, that is Vadi, Samvadi and so on. We should have to think about what ansha is in a composition, is in a khayal composition, and according to me, the ansha should be called as, in today's manner, the swar kept on the mukhda. Okay, so I am going to the next term. Next term is also being an interesting term. Sorry. Next term is grama. Definition. Grama swara samuha syan murchana ade samashrayah tau dvau dharatale tatra syat shadjak grama adimah. Meaning is, the base scale of murchana etc. is called as grama. There are two in practice, shadjagram and madhyamgram. I will repeat again. The base scale of murchana etc. is called as grama. They are two in practice, shadjagram and madhyamgram. Relevance. Grama is a prescribed scale in which all the musical activities takes place, such as murchana, tan, even the composition. In today's manner, still we know that North Indian classical music, especially what I'm talking about, is a melody music. So it happens into a particular scale, in a singular scale. So from sa to sa, the whole practice went on in a just single saptak, goes on in a single saptak. But here prescribed, two saptaks are here prescribed. The beauty of Sharang Deva's findings is that the elaborative extension, what he had found about the saptaka. Here is the first term, grama, then murchana and so on. We will go through it. The first term, grama, which actually creates the two saptaka within just one saptak. Okay, I will repeat it again. Here is the concept grama, which is the door of the terminology or the extension of the term scale or a grama. Shadjagram, which is sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa, and madhyam gram means if we shifted shadja to madhyam, sa re ga ma sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa, then it's a madhyam gram. Okay, there are two grams, shadja gram and madhyam gram, and here first time he introduced the shadja sanchalan. That means to shift the sa from sa to madhyam. As we know, there are two samvad of shadja, and madhyam is also being a very important pillar of creating a saptak. So here it is a creation or the door to create many saptaks by shadja sanchalan. The first method is grama, shadja gram and madhyam gram. About Gandhar Gram, this is not my topic, but said that it is gone at that time also. Gandhar Gram has been had been gone through their practice, and what today's uh, what now happened in today's days, Madhyam Gram is also on the way to get left. I don't know, might people or researchers will agree with me or not. Madhyam gram is a very much important gram. But what happens in Khayal music in today's context, we should have to accept that now we are reliable on only one fixed scale. And the musical activity seems very less to shift the sa once started. Still, the concept is now in practice as मध्यम को सा करके गाना in especially presenting light music. Light musicians mostly use this madhyam gram or madhyam ko sa karke gana. They use the beauty of to shift the sa to madhyam, and they enjoy the legacy of that madhyam grama also in related with Shadja grama. And again, I have to put a new genre created by Pandit Jasrar, that is Jasarangi Jugalbandi, a beautiful creation which also a good effort to revolve this concept grammar. He had created Jasarangi Jugalbandi, that means the male singer sings from the Shadja and a female singer sings from its Madhyam, or vice versa. The two ragas going at a time with a particular scale, and it seems a beautiful combination of Shadja grama and Madhyama grama. I think so. This is the revolution or some kind of to revolve the concept grammar in Khayal music by Pandit Jasraj. We will move to the next concept. Next concept is Murchana. Murchana is the extension of Shadja Sanchalan. And we can see the methodic thinking of Sharangdeva here also. He never had put Murchana before Grama. He had kept Murchana after Grama. Grama is the first example of Shadja Sanchalan, and Murchana is the extension of Shadja Sanchalan. What happens in Murchana, Shadja is not shifted from Sa to Ma. It's shifted from Sa to Re, Sa to Ga, Sa to Ma, Sa to Pa, Sa to Dha, Sa to Ni. Okay, the Murchana is the extension of Gram. Okay, now the definition is Kramat Svaranam Sapta Namaroha Arohascha Varohanam Murchane Tuchate Gramat Dvayetah Sapta Saptacha. Okay, the meaning is the ascending and descending order of 7 swaras is called as Murchana. They are 7 in each. Gram means 7 of Shadja gram and 7 of Madhyam gram. 7 of Shadja gram means a Murchana from Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni. And from Madhyam gram is Murchana from Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni. Sa, Re, Ga, Ma. Okay, means the 7 from Shadja gram and 7 from Madhyam gram. Relevance. Murchanas are being the source which generate the elaborative extension of the scale. At that time, when the base to generate the scale is Veena, and particularly Shatatantri Veena, means the Veena of 100 strings. This whole extension is the key factor of each presentation and pedagogy also, as the whole musical activity is run through it. Okay, Murchana is the main concept. Their practice and pedagogy also means in their talim. Murchana was being the part of talim. And now what happened in Khayal? The use of Murchana, it seems to be very less. Nowadays, people are not that much interested. It's also a little bit a finding that Murchana is not seems to be widely used in the exploration of Khayal. very few maestros such as Ustad Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab, Pandit Jasraj ji, and Pandit Ajay Chakravarti ji, and many other very few maestros use this concept skillfully in their presentation. But some ragas which emerged from murchanas are has great value in Khayal music, such as Jog and Lalit. Both the ragas evolved from some murchana of some raga, another raga, and had a great importance in Khayal music. There is a lot of scope of creating new ragas or emerging new ragas through this concept murchana nowadays also. Through the extensive study of murchana, though extensive study of murchana can open many ways of elaboration, nowadays murchana is less used in presentation and pedagogy of Khayal music. Though there it's used there, it is being used there in mahfil or practice, but this term is not being elaboratedly used in pedagogy on the root levels. So this was the main term which deals, जिसे कहें हम स्वरों को पक्का करने के लिए, स्वरों की खूबसूरती जानने के लिए, to go deep into the meaning and the context of swara, murchana is a very key factor. But still nowadays somehow, I don't know why, we people are not that much focusing on this particular beautiful characteristic of saptak. And the most beautiful concept, again here we are going to conclude with the last term that I have, Kuttan. Kuttan, nowadays the meaning of Kuttan has changed. At that time of Sangeet Ratnakara, Asampurnashta Sampurna Vyutkramocharitasvaraha Murchanaha Kutattanastu Tat Sankhyaam Abhididmahe. Swargatadhyaya Prakaran 4 Shlok 9th. Meaning is permutation and combination of notes in Asampurna and Sampurna Murchanas. Okay, I will repeat it again. Permutation and combination of notes in Asampurna and Sampurna Murchanas is called as Kuttan. Relevance: Kuttan is a well-designed mathematical method of making permutation and combination of notes, which opens a wide area of creating thousands of swara patterns and paltas. In a way, Kuttan is a fundamental concept of swara prastar, or a popular name Khandameru or Merkhand in today's context. But what happened in context of Khayal music, the term Kuttan is used for just being a complex tan pattern, not for a particular tan pattern going through permutation and combination or a periodic permutation and combination. Nowadays, just sare pa ma gare sare pa ma gare gama sare gama pa ma pa gama gama dani sa ni za da sa ni dani pa da ni pa ni ma pa da ma pa gama re ga ni sare gama pa ma gare sa pa ma pa gama re ga ma da ma ni ta sa ni re sa ni re ni za da sa ni dani ma da ni da ma da ma pa ma gama re ga ma pa ma gare sa. In this way, just the complex patterns of the tans means the complexity of the क्या कहें जिसे it's called as Kuta, and there is no a particular pattern of palta in Kuttan in today's context of Khayal music, but in the context of Ratnakara, Kuttan is a particular pattern, that is to create permutation and combination. That means if we got 3 swara, then सारे ग रे सा ग सा ग रे ग सा रे ग सा ग रे सा रे ग म ग रे म ग म रे ग म रे म ग रे ग म प म ग प ग प म प ग म प ग प म ग म प द प म द म द प द म प प द म द प म प द नि द प नि द नि प द नि द प द नि सा नि द सा नि सा द नि सा द सा नि द प म ग रे सा. That means going through the permutations and combinations periodically. If you got the four swara, सा रे ग म रे सा ग म सा ग रे म ग सा रे म रे ग सा म ग रे सा म सा रे म ग रे सा म ग सा म रे ग म सा रे ग रे म सा ग म रे सा ग म रे ग सा म रे सा म ग रे म सा ग रे ग म सा रे म ग सा रे ग म सा ग रे म सा रे म ग सा म रे ग सा ग म रे सा म ग रे सा. In the same way for 5 and 6 also, 5, 6 and 7 also, but in a periodic manner, not repeating a single note. That means a Kutan at that time, and nowadays Kutan is particularly known by the name of Khandameru or Merkhand or Merukhand in Khayal context. This is a fundamental characteristic of many gharanas such as Bhindi Bazaar. Kirana also use this pattern, and Patiala Gharana also use this particular method of creating paltas or tan. Here we have to focus on this word tan also. In today's context, tan, this term tan has extremely changed in the context with Khayal. At that time of Prabandha or Sangeet Ratnakara, the meaning of tan is just to extend the musical idea. Tan, tanyate, to extend the musical idea. That means tan. And the various beautiful methods to extend the musical idea are kept in a manner of tan. That means Murchana tan, Shuddha tan, Koot tan. These all are called as tana because they are the beautiful ways to extend the musical idea, and they don't have any kind of relevance with the laya factor. Okay, but in the context of Khayal music, tan is especially related with the laya factor. A extension of notes done in a druta laya or done in a fast tempo is called as tan in Khayal context, but in Ratnakara, to elaborate the musical idea is called as tana. Okay, so here it is my presentation of some terms. I will conclude with some of my findings. Some terms from Sangeet Ratnakara has no relevance today. Terms like graha had lapped in the time era or as per the need of the musicality. So some terms from Sangeet Ratnakara has no relevance today. Some terms from Sangeet Ratnakara are still in use, but the meaning is changed by the course. As we have seen the meaning of Tana, some terms from Sangeet Ratnakara are still in use, but the meaning is changed by the course. Some terms from Sangeet Ratnakara are still in use as it is, such as Murchana. Murchana, this term has not changed its real meaning in Khayal context also. Murchana is just a Shadja Sanchalan from Shadja to other notes. Some terms from Sangeet Ratnakara are being replaced by new terms. Okay, the idea is same, but the terminology has been changed. So here it is a little my little finding and little presentation about the different terms from Sangeet Ratnakara and its transformation to Khayal music. I hope you all, I am thankful to all of you that you all peacefully had listened my presentation, and I hope you have liked it. Thank you so much. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nidesh. Uh, it was a very clear presentation. I would now request Dr. Shruti Jauhari to give her expert comments and any other inputs that she would like to add to the presentation itself. Dr. Shruti, request you to please unmute yourself and address the gathering.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajeshri Vasudevanji. First of all, I am very thankful to and delighted and honored to be amongst such a beautiful gathering of erudite artists. And I thank Dr. Jayashree ji and Dr. Rajeshri ji for holding such a unique and beautiful concept of this Young Researchers Forum. It's a much needed concept. Of course, you all are being, presented through your institutions. So Nityodaya and Sassoon Jain College. It's a beautiful concept that you have come about. We are going through times when such researches are becoming more and more relevant. I will just go a little back beyond Sangeet Ratnakar actually to begin with, to just put in one point that Indian music has been so fine, so evolved, and what Sangeet Ratnakar portrays is basically research and evolution of thousands of years before that. So if we visit Natya Shastra by Muni Bharat, Sangeet Ratnakar, bases most of its finding almost based on Natya Shastra, and Natya Shastra in turn is very much influenced by Samgan. So the music that was present in Samgan, Samved, which is known as Samgan, is the Aadhar for Natya Shastra, and then of course Matang Muni's Brihadeshi and many more texts were present in between. After finally around the 13th century we had Sangeet Ratnakar, which, as Nilesh ji said, that it was just when the dichotomy between Hindustani and Carnatic music arose just after that. Therefore, Sangeet Ratnakar becomes the base or Aadhar Granth for both the beautiful genres. Nilesh ji, your presentation was excellent, and first of all, I must congratulate you for coming up with this thought, because I have, as I was mentioning to you before this webinar started, we were just shared a very brief note that the more you look behind and you find, that there is an ocean buried deep in our history, and we have just got completely cut off from that. Of course, certain things have, they have kind of progressed in that those concepts have progressed, but by and large there is a lot that we have lost over a period of time. And what what you are talking, the basis of your thesis is the loss of high mathematical aptitude that Indian music had, and Samgan is a treasure of that. It is such a complicated mathematical treasure that it is whenever I study these books, and I'm aghast to see the kind of complicated, refined, and melodious, music that was being practiced around that time. I will start with point by point, just like you gave your presentation. I will just very quickly, I will just give my thoughts over what you said. Griha was the first point that you mentioned, and very rightly you mentioned that its relevance no longer stays because the scale changing method and the group singing, or the ensemble singing method are no longer part of classical genre anymore. Let me tell you that Samgan, if we actually see some kind of a symphony or some such thing today, you can think of Samgan, because this is exactly what Samgan was. Samgan was a very complicated song structure. You mentioned that the song structures were very, very fixed and complicated, not like Khayal, where there is 2 lines of sthai and 2 lines of antra, because the importance has shifted, the aesthetics have shifted. So Samgan was really a complicated song, which had parts like Hunkar, Prastak, Udgit, Pratihar, Nidan, and all those parts. And each of the part was sung by particular group of singers. So Prastotas were there, Udgitas were there. I like that there was an assembly of musicians, an assembly of instrument players, veena players, tunav or vanshi players, and all these, dundubi, all the percussion. So there was a beautiful ensemble by the time Samgan, was being practiced. Of course, Rigvedic chants were much more simpler in nature. By the time Samved was written, which was basically the text is similar to Rigvedic text, but the only difference is the rich musical inputs in these richas, and they were complicated, mathematical, beautiful marg pieces that were so intricate and and so refined. This was what was carried in Prabandh Gayaki later on after Samgan. That was the next, composition format, which went on for quite some time. And so the concept of Graha, as you mentioned, yes, it got lost because the entire concept of ensemble singing, where one bunch is singing something and the other bunch is singing something, and there is a scale difference, is completely lost now. We don't have it anymore. So of course, the concept of Graha Swar also goes with that. So yes, that's a great loss, and it's very difficult now to even visualize that. You explained it beautifully, the concept of Graha. Ansh Swar is the next that you mentioned, and that is you said that you can make it as the prominent swar of a composition, preferably coming in the mukhra, and probably in the some areas. Yes, you can, to some extent we can relate Ansh to that, and sometimes I think it can also come to very close contact with the Vadi note of the rag, which is also a very prominent note in the mukhra of a rag. So sometimes it might match with the Vadi note, but not necessary always. You mentioned about Madhyam of Bhimpalasi. Yes, Madhyam is just, I think, the superstar note of Bhimpalasi. Bhimpalasi wouldn't be so beautiful. The Sama Sangati, they say, is the most, if we look at the ancient music, the Madhyam is the most important note in an octave. And the Sama, because of its beautiful Samvad, is the most important combination in an octave. It's the most beautiful and melodious combination in an octave. And Madhyam is like the Pranaswar or the Jeevswar of Bhimpalasi. And therefore, very beautifully, it is used in many places in the bandishes. And yes, Ansh, somewhere we can, as you mentioned, in the composition format, somewhere we can relate it to the very frequent sum-based note, or where the mukhra falls and the sum. That is where probably, yes, very much. Gram, you mentioned about Shadaj Gram, Madhyam Gram, and of course Gandhar Gram, which is no longer practiced in modern times. Even Madhyam Gram is almost obsolete. I would just request you to also look into the Shruti distribution of these grams, where the Shadaj gram and the Madhyam gram, the basic difference between them is the placement of Pancham, which is in the 12th Shruti, not in the 13th Shruti, as in the Shadaj gram. And Gandhar gram had many more displaced notes, and therefore it was very difficult to render. I would just very briefly here put my understanding of scale and notes. As I said that, Samvedic music was very complicated. You see, in the range of 22 Shrutis, there is a saptak that is placed, and that the Sharaj gram is what we actually, even the Sharaj gram now is not being practiced. That is also gone and is distorted. You must have seen the Shruti placement is no longer the same. Till medieval time, the Shruti was always the swar was on the last Shruti, but now it is the first Shruti. This is a change that has happened. We are also practicing tempered scale now, which is even much more distorted. We had the Kafi That if you can understand, the Sharajgram was not the Sharajgram that we practice today. It resembled the Kafi thought, more of the, so that, there has been an complete, I mean, it's a turnover basically. And this was the time when it happened, 13th, 12th century. This was because of the heavy impact of Islamic or Persian music on Indian music. And the establishment of the Bilawal or the Sharajgram that we see today is basically the influence of Persian Hangam concept. And that is how the Sharajgram of the new times was established. This was not the gram which was being practiced in ancient India, even in medieval India. It was a little bit like Kafi at that time. And then then Madhyam, yes, Madhyam and Gandhar grams. In between the 22 Shrutis, 7 notes have been placed for the Sharajgram. There's a different Shruti distribution for the Pancham in Madhyam gram, and in Gandhar there's a complete displacement. Therefore, it became obsolete. Now, what is interesting is that in ancient times, the musicians were not rendering swars, they were rendering shrutis. Because there was also a concept of shruti jati. That means there were zones of notes. So if there was a Shuddha Rishabh, there was a Chut Rishabh, and there was a fallen Rishabh, and there would be a higher Rishabh, and there would be another higher Rishabh which would come close to the Komal Gandhar perhaps. Something which we also see in Carnatic scale right now. There's an overlapping of nomenclature of notes. I'm sure the Carnatic Vidwans sitting here would relate to this very beautifully. So ultimately, the musicians ended up actually singing all the 22 microtones. Not like today where we are singing 7 notes. And of course, if there are another 5 Vikrit notes which are present, so 12 all put together. This also got established post-Persian influence. So this was just when Sharan Dev, he wrote his Sangeet Ratnakar, and in fact, in his Sangeet Ratnakar, there is a heavy influence of Persian music also that he has mentioned. If I very briefly come to my mind is Adha Prasidh, which he has mentioned. These are rags like Yemen, Hidi, and all these. There's a mention. He has given these rags as well, because the 200-300 years of Persian influence already had happened. And this was also the time when Amir Khusro was present in the Khilji court. There was a lot of political and social turmoil. Please, I'm sure you'll find it very interesting for your research, where you can also put in the socio-political situation in due to which these things happened. Whatever happened, the generation file is completely a result of that. So that would, I'm sure if that input helps into your research. The grams, as I said, so there were shades of notes that were being sung in Samgan, and that facilitated. So today we have like one Komal Rishabh and we have a Shuddha Rishabh. Imagine if we had 3-4 shades of Rishabh. We could have facilitated better bhav production with those shades. So this is what our great ancestors were doing. They were actually singing microtones and not just notes like we do now. So that was one point. So in gram, I think you can just look into all those points as well. Then Murchana you mentioned, of course, and Murchana was nothing but a vistar or a prastar of a scale into different various other melodies. Again, a very, very highly mathematical concept. Just by swar progression, how you can get different dhuns or different jatis at the time of Bharat. And of course, jatis were known as rags at the time of, by the time Sangeet Ratnakar was written. So that was also something that got kind of lost, because again, we became very haphazard, just like your Kutan point that you mentioned, and so Murchana lost its relevance there somewhere. Also, a lot of influx of Persian melodies coming into Yaman. You mentioned Yaman is a Persian melody. It's a Muqam. Yaman Muqam is, Yaman is a district in Saudi Arabia. So that's a Persian melody that has come into. So somewhere the Mushra concept also. So this mathematical thought process, and not only in the melody part of it, in the lay part of it also, in the tal part of it also, intense mathematics at one point of time, completely lost. And we moved on, and finally we came to the Khayal system, which is a beauty in itself, absolutely amazing concept, where you so imaginative and creative on the spot. I don't think there is any genre except for jazz which can jazz comes a little close to this concept of khayal. The point which I here want to make, and I think it's a very beautiful thought that you can just think about also in great details, and think about how to come about it, is that the khayal, the word itself, defies that extreme mathematical approach. Because khayal means thought. Now, thoughts are always random. It's very difficult to have very processed thought process. So that concept of Muchna, of Kut-tan, which you mentioned, where there was progression in tans and not just random tans as we are seeing now. Most of us are doing that only, barring a few gharanas like Bindi Bazaar you mentioned. And this is exactly what happened if we look at the influence of Islamic music or Persian music on, and this is the dichotomy between Hindustani and Carnatic music. Carnatic music still contains a lot of grammar and mathematics in it. It still portrays ancient Indian music in a little more, more authentic way than Hindustani. Hindustani went through complete metamorphosis. And everything, they made it very abstract, because it was very difficult for them to do practice in mathematics. It was very difficult for them to retain Sanskrit as a language. So Brij, Awadhi, all dialects, Punjabi, Urdu, everything came into Khayal Gaiki. We do not have Sanskrit text anymore. We have beautiful Sanskrit literature in Carnatic music. We don't have it anymore now. The Drupad, up till the Drupad singing, we had, even if we had to change the lay of our composition, we had to do it in multiples. Deori, Kuari, Biari, Dogun, Chogun. You couldn't simply just increase your lay as per your own, your own wish. But that's what happened in Khayal Gaiki. Today, that concept is completely gone. So that's what I'm trying to say, that these are two extreme things that you have tried to kind of, try to relate today through your thesis. And they are very extreme thoughts in their own way. They have a very mathematical approach, and there is one very abstract approach of khayal. So I feel that Khayal Gaiki, I don't know how I mean, yes, many Vidwans, they have been practicing, and they have really put in a lot of grammatical and mathematical approach into the Khayal Gaiki. The point is that, the aesthetics in composition is of paramount importance now. And grammar takes a backseat. Mathematics is gone way beyond. We've really lost that concept. So I know when this was my thought, this is my feeling. I wish we could actually, recreate the Samgan in some ensemble form. And there have been, all composition formats have had their life. None of them is immortal. We had the Samgan, then we had Prabandh, then we had Drupad, then we had Khayal. If Khayal is of course still there, but now there is a huge, most popular genre of light music, which is all over, So we have been changing, the composition format has been changing time and again. And I wish I mean, through your research, because your topic is so beautiful, where you have taken in all the ancient, thoughts, and you've tried to relate it to Khayal. I really wish that there could be something whereby we could also come about with some other form of singing, and probably ensemble singing. Perhaps we could also keep graha and all these concept and scale changing concepts also into our singing. I wish something like that could happen. Uh, Murchana, the concept went away because now we have phrase-based rags. Kedar is a phrase-based rag. Just not possible to have Merukhand alap in it, because there are phrases that are there in Kedar and it's not possible. Certain rags have got very 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 gambhirya swarup. So again, a little difficult, because the gliding is, or the glissando form of singing, or mead form of singing, takes the precedent. So like that, these are the challenge. Now this was not the way rags were generated in the ancient times. They were done by Bhurchana Paddhati. So they were more scalar, like Malkos, Hamsadhvani, Dhani, Bhupali. It was easier to do such Kuttan and these phenomenons in those rags. Now the concept of even the way the rags are generated is different. So it becomes even more, and then as I mentioned, Khayal is such an abstract format that it's like a thought that is just flowing. So you just go by whatever comes to your mind. Some of us are a little methodical, so it reflects in our singing. Some of us aren't. And that is the advantage the Khayal gives to a singer. It actually is positive in certain ways. So I really feel, how can we revive that precise and refined methodology of singing? I wish something in future, I really pray and wish that something comes by where we could come back with this kind of concept of Kuttan and things like what you mentioned, scale change and all that, in a more ensemble format, for graha and all these terms to be more relevant. And we could do something like, I hope, I really pray that something like that could come over in music now, and that will be really beautiful. So in that sense, I would say that your research is really you've really chosen a beautiful topic. Please do guide your students also to visit ancient music, Vedic music. Vedic music is absolutely mind-blowing. I always tell this, that the technology may have improved, but we have gone down in our capabilities. I cannot sing 22 Shrutis. Those great musicians could. I find even 12 notes difficult to sing. Even there is a problem of apaswara and things like that. Imagine our ancestors practicing all 22 Shrutis and using them wherever, in consonanting formats. So then the mathematics of Laya and Tal, which is very much there in Carnatic music still. So Desi Tals that have, overflown into Carnatic music. So these are things that we really need to revive, and we really need to, make them available in some format, for our youngsters to also understand and revisit the very fine cultural heritage that we have inherited right from the Vedic music. So I really congratulate you and your guru. I missed her name. I really congratulate her for picking up such a beautiful topic. I am sure this will be of great relevance for students of music. Thank you so much. If you would like me to say, please let me know.
Thank you, Dr. Shruti. I think it has given a lot of confidence to not only Mr. Nilesh, but to a lot of youngsters who are listening in. And they have they have posted some questions. Some of them, of course, may be a little naive for your standard or even for Mr. Nilesh, but there are doubts that they want to be cleared. So I'll just ask the questions now. Probably Mr. Nilesh can take a few of them and Dr. Shruti a few more. There is one question which says that why is the range or pitch for Hindustani singers higher than Carnatic singers? Can you hear, Mr. Nilesh?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
One student has asked. Yeah, one student has asked, saying that she feels that the range or pitch for Hindustani singers seems to be higher than for Carnatic singers. Is there any reason for that? I do not know.
Sorry.
No, I know that's not the case. The ladies sing with G sharp just as Carnatic musician ladies do, and men sing in C sharp just like that, Hindustani also. The only thing is, since this is a very improvised format, the Hindustani format, there is a lot of scope to sing tar and Mandra Saptak as well. So when we are being trained for 3 octaves in our voice culture training. So that is how it appears probably that there's a more traveling of in the saptaks that is evident while a Hindustani musician is rendering his composition. So that's it. But there's the basic pitch remains the same. The travel range is probably because of its very high innovative and improvised format. And as I said, the training is generally done in 3 octaves, so that it appears like that. Otherwise, no, there's no significant change. I think, Nilesh, do you agree to this?
Yes, I am fully agree with it.
No, I think it's like that.
Just, I just want to ask or add something is there. What happens in North Indian music, this is now a culture to use the higher range or a loud voice than the range. Range doesn't matter. Matters the loud voice. And nowadays, this is a practice, or we can say not a good practice or a malpractice, to use a, we can say a louder voice to impress the audience, because the audience, number of audience has totally increased, as this was just the, क्या कहें, ये बैठक का गाना था पहले, ख्याल music was, so the presentation manner was too जिसे कहें modest, and nowadays to impress the audience, it happens many times the artists use a louder voice. Range doesn't matter. Range inputs the validity, or inherits the musicality of an artist, but the louder voice, that might be she wants to ask, and that modesty is still kept as it is in Carnatic music. They don't compromise with the modesty of the composition to impress the audience. That might be the one of the reasons. Sorry if I'm wrong.
Okay, yeah, fine. One more student is asking, the Khayal is recognized more by the audiences than other genres like Drupad. Is there any reason for that?
Now even the Khayal is becoming a difficult problem. See, every composition format has its life, and a mass also has a taste for some time. There was a time in the 15th century, Drupad was the unparalleled composition format. There was nothing. Tansen, Nayak Baiju, Nayak Bakshu, all these great musicians, they sang Drupad only. And Raja Man Singh Tomar of Gwalior, he revived Drupad. It's a very old format. Dhruv Prabandh say it generated around 12th, 13th century. It was revived in the 15th century. So much so that the Sadarang and Adarang that you mentioned in Muhammad Shah Rangile's court in the 17th century, they were actually Drupad singers. Khayal was not considered to be a very prestigious composition format at that time. It was just springing up. It was just coming about. So it did not have that kind of popularity. It was just the Drupad that was established. Very interestingly, Sadarang and Adarang, I have read it in books, they taught Drupad to their children and they taught Khayal to their students.
Yes,
but
yes.
the thing is, you see, the composition had such qualities in it. The newness of Khayal was its highly innovative concept. Now, Khayal is such an interesting thing that if I also sing a Khayal today of Rag Yaman or any Rag or Malkons or anything, the same Bandish also, the same composition also, if I sing tomorrow, it will be different. Because what I am thinking today, I may not be thinking the same way tomorrow about the Rag. This newness of and this very highly improvised quality of Khayal was so anything that is good stands in the test of time. You cannot shelf it, you cannot cut it off. People will like it. If it is good, people will like it. So that was the point. Now, the point of Khayal, there was another very interesting thing about Khayal was the range of lay that it had to offer. Yes. Right from Ati Vilambit, where one avartan takes about 1 minute. Ustad Amir Khan Sahab, when he sang, one avartan took 1 minute to come back to some. The tabla gentleman could go and eat one pan and come back, actually. So that was from there to Ati Drut, where Chota Khayal ended, culminated the entire process. Now, that was the uniqueness of Khayal Gaiki, which was not there perhaps in the other formats. Therefore, it became such a popular genre. Now, I feel that with the changing times and the pace of life, where the child cannot even sit for 5 minutes steady in something, even Khayal appreciation is becoming a challenge. Therefore, you see the 3 minute, 5 minutes film songs are so popular with the masses. So with time, the masses, their lifestyle, so our presentation, the artistic presentations are also relevant with a particular period. Then slowly the relevance shifts, the time shifts. So that is how, the Khayal, I feel even the Khayal Gaiki now slowly, we already light music is all over. It's very popular now. Khayal is no more. So things have, every composition has its life. So that's what it is. So Khayal, because it is very improvised and it is very new, probably that's why it just gripped the, people, and people loved it. But things will change. And I, this thought of being a Puritan as a young girl, I had it very strongly in my mind. I was a very purist and all. But then as I'm getting old, I feel change is the only one thing that is positive, and you just have to embrace it. We are part of the flowing river of this cultural, beautiful heritage that our country has. We don't have a hold of anything. Things are constantly, changing with life, with the way people lifestyle, and we just have to be part of it. That's all. I hope it is.
Yeah, there is a question about Kurtan. Were they a part of compositions in the Sangeeta Ratnakara period, or just a musical exercise or possibility? And there is one more associated question, whether it is similar to the Carnatic basic lessons of Sarali Varshai and Dhatu Varshai. So both with reference to Kurtan questions.
Nilesh, would you like to put this?
Yes.
Or should I?
Yes.
Please.
Little bit I will explain. First of all, I want to mention that we actually don't know what was the practice of Prabandha. Okay, so we just can't say how they place this Kurtan into their presentation, but it is being the part of their pedagogy. This is very true. Murchanas and Kurtans were being a very restricted और क्या कहें बहुत जिगर की तालीम was being there with Kurtans. I have interviewed Ustad Saiduddin Dagar Sahab. He also had mentioned till the Dhrupad times, the practice of Kurtan or the whole Swar Prastar of 5040 Swar Prastar, what they are mentioned in Sangeet Ratnakara, were being strictly practiced by the student, and the guru was emphasizing on it. And also there was a test that the guru tests the student by asking just say the 54th tan, just a 504th tan, just a 540th tan. Okay, in a way that was the test of the student if he had mastered the Koot dance or not. And Dagar Sahab had explained that a mala was given to a student and he has to render it for the prescribed times. Okay, the Koot dance periodically, number by number, the student has to render it and to recite it and to get it in a manner that he could explain the exact number tan when the guru asks. So that was a kind of practice in their pedagogy, and it can inherit the student's ability to think, periodically, and his command over the swaras. And I think so that was the main purpose of this Koot dance explained in Sangeet Ratnakara. I think so. Madam will explain.
Yeah. So this you're mentioning about Drupad, basically Dagar Bandhus,
Yes.
Dagar Gharanas. So
Yes.
they were Drupad singers, and yes, they were very much. They were trained in the progressive tan practices. Prabandh in Sangeet Ratnakar are 75 in number. So, and this was these are the differences each Prabandh had. Some of them had some Manodharma components, some of them had very rigid components, some of them had these progressive, swar presentations. This is how the various Prabandhas, the varieties were there. So yes, Uttans were very much part of Prabandh Gayan at one point of time. One of them, which had more abstractism in it, kind of re-emerged as Khayal later. And Drupad was somewhere in between, where yes, very much it had these components of Kuttan in the presentation, definitely in the training, as Nileshji mentioned.
There is one question. What is the etymology for using the term Meru Khand in Khayal? Why that term?
Sorry.
What is
Meru
the
Khand?
etymology? Yes.
Nileshji?
Ma'am, please. I will.
No.
The Meru Khand is a term. Sorry.
Yeah.
Meru Khand is a term which means Meru. Meru means Mukhya. We say Meru means Meru Mani, Meru Parvat, or some way Meru regarded with the Mukhya. To putting one Mukhya note and creating the permutations and combinations around it. That was the concept which reflects in the term Meru Khand. Or if you put all the Meruks in a manner, Sa, Re, Sa, Re, Ga, Re, Sa, Ga, Re, Sa, all those, then it looks like a Parvat, which is called as Meru Parvat. We know it used in the Samudra Manthan. So that was the main Parvat. So Meru seems to be a main. So that concept is Meru Khand.
Yeah, it's a mathematical concept, which doesn't leave any possible combination that is possible between 4 notes, 5 notes, 6 and 7. So it's basically pure mathematics, where supposing you have 7 notes, how many possible combinations are present? 5040 possible combinations.
Okay.
Meru Khand exhibits that. It's a mathematical derivation, basically.
I think there is one last question that.
Now, this Meru, does it now explain what is known as Yati? Yati patterns, we have so many of them. Do they, are they derived from Meru, the concept of this? Because,
Yati.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yati is, how would you explain Yati?
No, there are so many patterns which are in Yati itself. So would it, kind of build up like the Meru? The Swaras would build up, or they would, like the Gopucha, it goes on reducing. And Shrotavaha
have so many different
patterns. Yeah, the Shrotavaha goes on increasing, and Mridanga or the Dhamru Yati. I'm just asking you, I'm not saying is it similar. Do you think the Meru, the concept of that has allowed the Yati pattern to be developed? Is it based on that? Because it's mathematical calculation again. When they do the Manodharma Swaras and all that, Yati patterns become very important. Or even in the Tanya Vartanam, the Yati patterns are very important for the Mridangam player.
Yes, Merukhand is basically restricted combinations. There are
Okay.
fixed combinations. There are not indefinite combinations. If you are mentioning that,
No,
which is
no.
a possibility in
No,
Carnatic.
yeah. No. There are also very fixed patterns.
Okay.
Only
Acha.
Vishama, only the Vishamayati is indefinite. It gives you a lot of freedom to make whatever combination you want. That is the Vishamayati. So,
Okay. Okay. Yati, is it a Carnatic term?
no, ma'am, isn't it's one of the Dasha Prana.
Tala Dasha Prana.
Tala Dasha Prana, we have the Dasha
Yes,
Prana.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
Yati and then Prastara. That is
Prastara.
last is Prastara where you widen it out. So
Yes, I get your point now.
Yeah.
No, if you are talking of the Tala Prastar of Carnatic classical music, which is still followed, and it has come from the Deshi Tal concept of ancient music and medieval music. It is ever extending, if that is what you mean.
It's elaboration.
Yes, it is unlimitedly elaborative in its concept. Merukhand is fixed in that concept. If you see, there are numbered possibilities in Merukhand. But in Tal Prastar of Carnatic music, I know that Lagu varies, and therefore you can make indefinite prastars that are possible. That is not how Merukhand is. Merukhand has got a more fixed structure.
Okay.
Merukhand is a new term for Kuttan, basically.
Okay.
And it's a pyramidical kind of a concept where there are fixed number of possible variations in combinations in which. That is what Merukhand. And Carnatic Tal Prastar is indefinite. You can just go on and can, if I have understood correctly, there are indefinite possibilities.
No, Prastara is one of the Yati, one of the Taladasha Prana, and Yati is another which is more or less fixed. Anyway, I suppose that is a Deshi concept. And I also wanted you to explain from what I have understood about present Hindustani music and the Kathak dance that is based on that. There is a freedom to increase the laya in the process of singing. So is that, it's a later edition, or do you think in the earlier?
It's a late.
Yeah.
No, it's a later edition. And this happened only from the Khayal Gaiki. From then on, until Drupad was being presented, lay was not supposed to be increased just by the whim and fancy of the singer. It was supposed to be increased in multiples. So if you wanted to increase less slightly, you can make it 1.25. You 1.1, 1.50, Ded Guni, 1.75, then 2, then Savado, 2 Kal, and things like that. But from the time the Khayal Gaiki came about, that's what I was trying to mention. The abstractism and became much more the style, and aesthetic was the only consideration. Mathematics, grammar, this is the refinement of the past now as far as Hindustani is concerned, which has to a large extent still followed in Carnatic music. And this is how I think the two genres differ basically. See, the rag concept is the same in both, but just by being more organized as it was in the ancient time, this has become much more fluid and flexible. And I think that's the beauty of Hindustani classical music. So that's what. So yes, definitely, I consider it as is inability of us not to be able to increase that lay in multiples is something that we are lacking in. Just like you mentioned, Nileshji, about the Kuttan thing, the lay also has the same problem. We cannot do that anymore now. We just increase our khayal, just to suit our convenience. But that's not how Drupad was sung. That's not how the previous compositions were sung. So that's something that has changed in Khayal.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think it was It was quite an exhaustive answer to many of the questions. And probably if we are there for some time longer, more and more questions will come. So I think we'll have to kind of end the session. And I'm quite surprised at our girls, even though they are in the midst of their model exams, they have actually attended the session and posted the questions also. So I think that is the kind of inspiration you have given them. So I think I'll take this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks so that we bring the session to the close. And it gives me great pleasure to thank our young researcher, Mr. Nilesh, who, as our expert said, has given a very clear analysis of the topic that was chosen by him, which is of great interest because a lot of young musicians have started looking deeply into the academic side as well. For a very long time, it was only performance, either in BITEC style or on the stage, but now more and more of them are coming out and would like to go back to their roots, to the ancient texts. And I think it was a wonderful presentation. So thank you, Mr. Nilesh, for that clear presentation, and also for, I think, kindling the interest of many of the listeners today. And of course, I take the opportunity to thank our expert who has given not just valuable inputs, of course, great appreciation for the young researcher, not just valuable inputs, but with such clarity and in such a simple manner that even those who are not very familiar with Hindustani music, I think will be able to understand the points that she explained. I think we really need to thank you. And reading your accomplishments, we were very proud that you could make time to be part of our session. I should thank Dr. Rajshri Shripati for giving me this contact. And we hope to continue the association in the future as well, Dr. Shruti. So thank you especially for being an expert for this session. I take the opportunity to also thank those who have been standing by us through these sessions. Our Guru, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, Padma Bhushan awardee, who has been our pillar of strength, who continues to inspire us and give us direction. On behalf of Center of Excellence, of course, I would like to thank our secretary, Shri Abhay Shri Shimal Jain, our Associate Secretary, Shri Ashok Kumar Mehta, and our Principal, Dr. Padmavati. And from the side of Nrutyodaya Academy of Performing Arts, Mumbai, I take the opportunity to thank Mahindra Finance and Mr. Ramesh and a host of well-wishers who have been giving them the impetus to continue this work. So bringing this 8th session to a close, when we started, we never imagined that we would be having a steady stream of young researchers and experts who are willing to collaborate with us. And we are really blessed in that sense. And we look forward to many more researchers doing their presentations and experts like Dr. Shruti giving their expert comments as well. So thank you very much. And do tune in to our Facebook page. And we hope to have a very interesting session again on January 8th, which is again a Friday. And the researcher's name and the expert's name will be announced soon. So do look into our pages. And thank you very much once again to our listeners as well. And to these very interested students and the public who have been posting the questions and the comments. Thank you so much once again. Dhanyavada. Shubharatri.